Hello, beautiful people. It's Jennifer Forster. I'm jumping on today just to have a quick chat about the concept of addiction. Now, I know for most of us, when we think in terms of addiction, we've probably, if we haven't experienced it, we probably have experienced someone we know or someone who we're close to who may have had an experience with addiction. My mum had an experience for a long time in her life with the addiction to alcohol and anxiety medication. So I'm not here to speak to addiction in that sense, but I'm here to speak to the definition of addiction and what might we be addicted to in our life that we don't consider an addiction because it doesn't fall into the category or the box that we have most things in around addiction. So, common addictions are, as I just said, my mum was addicted to alcohol and anxiety medication. So drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, sex, exercise, shopping. There's some of the common addictions that we all have experienced or know of in our day-to-day. But what I want to speak to today is some unconscious habits and behaviours that we may be addicted to that we're not aware of. So I recently came upon something that I was addicted to in my life that I didn't realize I was addicted to, and it also was giving me a payoff. So addictions do that. When you're addicted to something, the reason that you're addicted to it is because it gives you something. Generally, it makes you feel good, or it means that you don't have to be in the reality. You don't have to face stuff, right? It gives you an opportunity or permission to not deal with life. And so sometimes our habits and behaviors can also be addictions because they're also giving us an opportunity to not deal with our life. So I was addicted to being busy for a good decade of my life. It was just, anyone who knew me back then, I was up at 5 a.m. I would go, hell for leather until 11 o'clock at night, and then I would just be so exhausted. I would constantly say to my kids, just give me a second, just give me a second. Or I would say, I just need to get this thing done. I just need to finish this one thing. Or I'd say things like, oh, when I just get to the end of the week, or when I just get to the end of February, or when I was in this constant state of busyness. And I was recently encouraged to ask myself the question of what was the payoff for being busy. And when I got really honest, and when you do self-inquiry work, it requires a really deep level of honesty. I was able to have a look at that, and I realized that being busy meant that I was constantly exhausted. And so the payoff for me in the exhaustion was that I didn't have to actually take responsibility for creating the life I did want. Why? Because I was too exhausted. I was exhausted all the time. So my habits and behaviors were keeping me busy so that I would stay exhausted, so that I didn't have to then step up and create the life that I actually wanted, not this burnt out busy life. But that's the cycle of addiction, right? And when you can start to see that, wait a second, is there a recurring theme in my life? And am I actually addicted to this? Is it giving me a payoff? Am I getting something from it? That's when, if we can have an honest inquiry and look at our habits and behaviors and ask ourselves that question, we might be able to see, wait a second, am I actually sabotaging the life I want by having this hidden unconscious addiction to a particular habit or behavior? So some other things that you you might be addicted to, you might be addicted to drama. Drama might be a recurring theme in your life. Have a look at that. Is there a payoff? Are you getting a payoff to having constant drama? Maybe you have an addiction to helping. Are you constantly helping people, and are you exhausted from that? Maybe you have an addiction to being appreciated. Maybe you have an addiction to being seen. Maybe you have an addiction to being acknowledged. Could be a bunch of things. But the first place to look is there a theme in my life? Is there something that is a constant in my life? And if there is, the question to ask is, what's the payoff? Because whatever it is we have in our life, we've created that. And when we can get really honest with that, we have an opportunity to move into full self-responsibility. And instead of being in this unconscious habit or behavior addiction, we can interrupt that and then actually create the life that we want. Something to think about. Okay, have a great day.